Hello everybody, welcome to Banter Blitz with me, number 63. That was a rhyme. And that's all the material I prepared for today. I didn't watch any TV, I have no hot takes, I have no opinions on anything. So let's keep it strictly business, EPMD style, and get straight into the games. You can challenge me to a 5-minute game if you are a Chess24 premium member, and I shall play you and probably crush you. That is pretty much the format of this show. Like smack my bishop. Witty. Oh, you should admire the new design. We built a Chess24 wall like I've been asking for years. Was very cheap. Smack my bishop. Is that Prodigy? Let me Google it. Smack my bishop. I might have to alter the spelling there a bit. Oh, I shouldn't click on pictures with the thing I just Googled, but I was right. It's the Prodigy. Showing my age here, 1997. Anyway, good username. I had not thought of that. And after d4 knight f6, I have thought of going 2 bishop to f4. That's what all the cool kids do these days. The correct bishop opening, as Grisha called it after he beat Anand with his, spread like wildfire among the world's elite. People are so sick of playing c4. The Nimzo, the Grunfeld, all these solid openings. So why not play bishop f4, e3? Take it from there. Wing it. d5, I will bring the knight out. I believe it's opinion to stay flexible with the c-pawn, not go c3 or c4 too early. After this very early bishop d6, which is very sensible, I don't know what to do. The standard reaction normally is to go bishop to g3. So if black wants to trade, then at least have him open the h-file for my rook. But I'm sure you could make a case for knight to e5, for ignoring the bishop on d6, for taking. Probably not for taking. And now that I committed the bishop so early, I can no longer play the Magnus Carlsen system, which is normally based on going knight b2 and then instead of bishop d3, put the bishop on b5. However, I think I already gave him one of my opening clinics why I don't think that is such a great system. c4 generally is supposed to be a bit of a mistake in these structures. At least that's what we learned before the computer age. We were taught never close the center, never release the tension here, because then you won't have counterplay once the vicious attack starts. You could argue that black has his own vicious attack on the queen side though, so these matters are never as black and white as one would like them to be. But c4 is supposed to be a bit too aggressive in these positions. It's more normal to play b6, bishop b7, and see what happens. 95 looked logical. I can either, which do what I just did, go for a good stonewall where my bishop is already out of the pawn chain. Typical stonewall, the bishop would be stuck on c1. Well, here it's all the way on h4. But black has also made a lot of progress on the queen side. Do I sound more or less robotic than usual? I have a feeling I'm sounding slightly more robotic, which is not an easy thing to achieve. The trick is the verbal cadence. Anyway, I want to checkmate him somehow. Bishop f6 and queen h5 maybe. Then I don't see a mate yet after f5, but I have a feeling something should be there. Bishop e7 slows down things a little bit, so I guess I have time to castle and then hopefully swing my rook over. For black, it's normally very desirable to have knight e4 as a resource in all these positions, which currently he doesn't because I'm controlling that square. Rook b8 is nice and all, but I don't think he's gonna be fast enough on the queen side once my lethal attack that I keep talking about gets going on the king side. You could go about it in other ways. Go g4, g5, go bishop takes f6 and queen h5. But rook f3, rook h3 looks like a nice little reinforcement in the girl spirit of inviting everybody to the party. And that party in this case is the kingside attack. I'm sure you got the, what do you call this? It's not a reference. It's not a comparison. I don't know. 94. That sacrifices a pawn, but stops me from checkmating him, which makes me a little sad. Like now it's gonna be a more typical game for my style, I guess. No fireworks and convert the extra pawn, but I'm still slightly saddened. You know what? I'll go for some fireworks. 94 d, bishop e4 would be my first instinct, but I'm tempted to go bishop e4, d, knight e4, bishop b7, knight f6 check. Just trying to figure out if that makes sense. gf, ef. Yeah, we'll find out. See, already first game, I'm trying to show off, which normally ends badly. Should just grab the pawn, knight e4, followed by bishop e4. Play it nice and slow. Convert the extra pawn with patience. So bishop b7 as expected, and I wanted to make this work. Problem is, I'm not sure if I can. First question is, after king h, knight f6, king h8. Let's think this through. My first intention was to go rook h3, gf, and then queen h5. But then he has bishop to e4, covering the h7 pawn. It would be root awakening. What I could do after knight f6, king h8, rook h3, gf is rook takes h7, king h7, queen h5. But I'm not so sure I have more than a perpetual there either. You know what, let's put it on the board and then talk about it. He takes, king h8 was interesting. ef I had not even gotten to in my deep thought process explanations, but it's also by no means obvious that I have a checkmate here. More likely than not, I don't. What I'm hoping for is bishop takes f3, because then after queen takes f3, there is a checkmate, either queen g4 or queen g3. But of course, this is no longer the 18th century. You're not forced to take everything your opponent offers. Apart from bishop f3, fe7 would be a good rook ending for me. So he should go somewhere, probably queen d8 to keep an eye on the f6 pawn. And I'm not sure. I was gonna play rook f4, threatening queen g4, and then king h8, queen h5. But it's by no means a given that there is any checkmate. Queen d8 plate, yep. Here, king h8, queen h5, and rook g8. A lot of calculating to do, because I'll show you another one of my original ideas that hasn't quite worked. King h8, queen h5, rook g8. I was gonna go. Queen d5 is a bit of a gift. It does threaten checkmate, but it's very important that checkmate comes with check, because that didn't make any sense. But if you give check, your opponent will not have time to execute his own checkmate plans. So that's a pity for smack my bishop, because it was a very interesting position, and I'm not so sure if what I was doing was objectively correct, but here it ends. Let me show you what I was talking about. King h8 looked natural, and now I don't even know. I think I was thinking about queen h5, but here he can go queen d5, amongst other things. But there's no direct attack, and this countermate on g2 looks very strong. So I'm not sure if there's anything really. Yeah, probably I will have to play e4. That looks insanely slow, just to block this bishop and stop queen d5. That's not, objectively not the best of piece sacrifices. White should probably take, whatever. Convert the extra pawn. You know the drill. Another game of chess, maybe? How's Roland 298 doing today? Roland 298, where are you from? From Peru. Roland Reinaga Salazar. What could the 298 stand for? It's not a chess rating. Could be a birthday thing, like he's born in February 98, but it's hard to interpret. I am playing the Nimzo Indian, one of the best openings out there. It will never go out of fashion. It's too logical a move. You develop the bishop, pin the knight, prepare castles. What's not to like? He plays queen c2. Castles is the line. That happens a lot, which I'm in a way grateful for, because it shows that some people might be watching my videos, but that I end up playing against myself, because I did this repertoire on bishop b4 for black, and I did this white repertoire where I gave this rare move, queen c2, castles, knight to f3. a3 is by far the main line. So a lot of people are making me battle my own stuff. cd, ed, bishop f4 is my recommendation here. See, no one played this. But I shouldn't complain, I guess. c5, dc5. And as usual, I'm the one who's least informed about my recommendation, because I can't remember things. I do remember that e3, c4 I was happy for black, because here the bishop on f4 doesn't do so much, while the extra space gained is significant here. I'm aware that I just said in the last game that c5, c4 is a mistake in those structures, but the situation is a little different here. This does strike me as a very pleasant version of, what do you call these things? Ragozin? I guess you call it a Ragozin. Anyway, black only has good pieces. I want to take here, put a knight on e4, maybe put the other knight on g6. Ideally win the c3 pawn quickly. If that doesn't work, there's also the long-term plan of pushing b5, b4. Building, you know, a bit of an initiative. Not sure I should take unprovoked. Takes, queen takes. Nah, nothing much yet. Alright, I'll go away. One move that bothers me a little bit is bishop to g5. Intending to take here. Slightly spoiling my structure. Bishop g5. I think I'm in time to go bishop takes c3, but it has to be calculated. The point is, if he recaptures with the queen... I'm not making sense. I was going to say then I can take a knight e4, but e7 is hanging. So there's a little point to it. Long story short, I still haven't figured out what to do after bishop g5. What's happening in the chat? Queen d5 was good after king h8, queen h5. Absolutely. Every other YouTube video displays just fine. Sorry if you're experiencing technical difficulties. I don't know. Might be secret filters that are saying, nah, you can only have so much grease in your hair to have this video running on YouTube smoothly. Well, now I got exactly what I was hoping for. After bishop takes c3, followed by knight to e4, he can no longer protect the c3 pawn. At least I can't see how. There's a side threat, but I'm not sure I even want to think about that, is g5 in some positions. But what I really want is this pawn. I have to be a little careful that I don't blunder things after bishop to d6. Which I think I would. If I go knight c3, bishop d6, targets this knight and threatens bishop b4. So that'd be unfortunate. I could go queen c3, but then I'm not winning a pawn, which is hurtful. Hurtful? Not as easy as I thought. You know what? Let's make it exciting and play dumbly again. I don't know why I feel the need to blunder things left and right today. I'm going to allow bishop d6 and sacrifice an exchange with knight c6, which I should have decent compensation for because of all the pawns, but still, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm not playing my sound, materialistic, dull brand of chess. Instead, I'm just playing badly. I'll blame it on this cold. I've had a cold forever. It's getting to me. It's not terrible. It's not like I'm in pain. But it's always a slightly nagging, can't breathe completely freely. And it's not going away. I'm taking every legal and illegal drug to fight it. But nah, can't do it. What is this queen b2 move? don't want my rook? My rook's not good enough for you? All right. Then you shall not get it. What he does want is to go bishop to b4 and win the knight. But there are measures that can be taken against that. I could go knight a4, queen b7, and something, rook fc8. I'm thinking about rook fd8, bishop b4, knight a4. Problem is that once again, my poor rook would be hanging in the end. Yeah. I'll go here and have him decide if he wants to get all giggly about bishop b4, but then be all upset because he missed knight a4, or if he wants to take on b7 when I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Queen b5 maybe. We'll find out. He goes bishop b4, but I'm 93% sure that Roland missed knight to a4. Now he's trying to justify it by blitzing out queen c2, but you can't trick me, Roland. I don't believe you. Still, the game is far from over. Since my pieces are a bit tangled up on the queen side, he can try generating some sort of attack on the other side of the board, as he does. Let's first protect Mr. a4 and then see what happens. Bishop f5 was undermining my own pawn on d5, so that wasn't the greatest of ideas. And now with knight d6, I have knight takes b4, a takes b, queen takes d6, which would be good news. Rook fd1, rook ad1. Yeah. Not quite sure, maybe rook a1 was meant to prepare e4, so I thought it made sense to go queen b6 in order to meet e4 with bishop f5, ef, knight takes d4. And queen b6 also prepares a5 in case I want to do that. Rook d2. Now, do I want to do that or do I not want to do it? I think I want to do it. Bishop d6. Yeah. Inspired commentary as usual. Yeah. Let's move some pieces back. Threatening to take here. All right, time for some action. Because I am a tactician. I'm just hiding behind this fake positional style. In the end, I just want to outcalculate you with all my very deep 1.5 move calculations. And all of that is a cover story for flagging. Same old, same old. But knight takes g7, lost a piece after queen g5 here because of this zwischenzug, knight f3. Anyway, good game, Roland 298. Let us play another one. What about Ilar Nadi Bosscourt? Is there one of these Facebook URLs that gives you all these dots in your username? I think if you click on sign up with Facebook, sometimes you end up with probably your real name, but separated by all these dots. It's not ideal. Is that how it's supposed to be? I don't know how things work. However, I do know how I don't know what's called. I believe, yeah, Tkatchev keeps lobbying for calling it the Yurtayev, so I'll roll with it. I do know how the Yurtayev works. You put this bishop out, then you go d6. If they go d4, we retreat our bishop without giving up the center. Then next on the agenda is typically castles. a4. Rook b8 is not the only move, and this move or the bishop g4 might actually have been a better move. But I'm a creature of habit, so I went rook b8. And the main line is something like takes, knight a3, castles, knight b5, bishop g4, and the fun starts there. Wow, Ilar Nadi Boskurt booked up till the eyeballs. Till the eyeballs or to the eyeballs? Probably to the eyeballs. Elephant by Gus Van Zandt. Rook e1. What am I supposed to do? How can anybody remember all these things? Do you take on f3 here? Is this the line? Bishop f3, gf. Or do you take on d4? I can't remember things. You take here. But I could be wrong. Rook e1 or bishop c2 or d5 or any other move that you could think of have been played in that position. I think, yeah, this is probably what they do. Knight d4, cd, bishop f3, gf, knight h5, stuff like that. So hard to tell these things apart. It's like Ilar Nadi Boskurt is pulling out his little theory book as well. He goes cd immediately. Can you do that? I guess you can. Oof, I wish I could remember. Do you go d5 here maybe? Oh boy. I do not remember. Might have mixed up something. Maybe you go bishop f3 anyway. We will never know, because I'm not going to look it up, let's face it. And probably you won't look it up either. So none of us will ever find out anything about this line. Bishop c2. At some point I should probably open the position to gain a hint of compensation. Bishop a5 is also an idea to keep an eye on. Can I go bishop a5? I'm so greedy. If I can grab material, I normally want to do it. I'll try. Not sure. More in the spirit of the position was to go f6 or even f5, but probably f6. However, I was smelling an exchange and I decided to go after it. Might be just bad because of rook e4, d, bishop e4. But then I might have knight takes e5. Sorry for all the thinking out loud lines today. Trying to, let you share the thought process of an experienced swindler. So knight takes e5 is what I was thinking about. Then if rook takes a5, I haven't really figured out what goes where and why. Knight c4, rook a4, it's also complicated. Rook takes b5 is also possible, but then bishop c6 and white just seems to have a good position. So that's not ideal. Maybe none of this works at all. That would be a pity. Yeah, I can't really get any of these lines I was hoping to make work. So I'm gonna have to eat humble pie, but this feels very wrong. Like, I'm certainly worse. I'm not sure how white should punish me, but he has 2 pawns for the exchange, and my pieces are a little loose on c6 and a5. So I am not happy at all. And I don't like my position either. Let's see what he does though. Is this a 3-minute game or we just both spent oceans of time, right? Yeah, I spent a minute on the last move. Have to speed up as well. But it's good if you pretend that this is a thinking game and we both want to really weigh our options at every juncture, because then you mask that what I'm really trying to do is flank you and take your pieces. Queen d3, knight b4, I'm aware h7 is under attack. But king h8, I thought I was ending up with more pieces, which would be nice. Should I pre-move king h8? Nah. That would look very stupid if he goes, let's say, queen c4, king h8, rook takes a5, now resign. Not gonna be able to do it. It looks like Ilar Nadi Boskurt, apologies if I'm bungling that name, was surprised by knight b4 and is now in trouble. However, I still have to be very cautious with my weak king. Will I be very cautious though? I'm not sure I will be. It's not how I do things. Knight g5, is there a threat? Sometimes bishop g8 can be a threat. It doesn't look like that's a big threat here. This is a bit of a weird move. Let me elaborate. Bishop g8 would threaten checkmate on h7, but it's not a big threat here because I can go bishop f5, covering everything. e6 I can take, I would guess, no? Ah, then queen h4. See, that's what I meant with. I have to be careful, but I'm not sure I will be. Whoa. So I have to pay some more attention and take here. Attention is being paid. E d7, rook d1 is one important point. Or queen g4, rook d1. Many rook d1s. Bishop e3, no rook d1. But now I should be able to take a lot of stuff, no? What am I talking about? I am going nuts. I'm going slightly mad. Looks like we both had the same hallucination that bishop e3 somehow parried rook d1. Didn't really do it. Interesting game against Ilar Nadi Boskurt. Even if I remembered the first moves correctly, which I'm not sure about at all, might have some theoretical relevance, this position. You probably should go f6 or f5, but I don't know. I'll look it up. Let's stay in the United States of America and play Arnkmish. Why are you guys already awake in the States? Because it's... I'm so bad at like figuring out these East Coast, West Coast, whatever times. It's... Yeah, we're not making progress. It's 11 a.m. at the East Coast. Anyway, I played an opening that I've played in serious games. It's not that great. This pseudo-Berlin knight f6 castles and now bishop c5. It's a worse version than the one I just played. After rook e1, I don't think that's the most critical move. I can do different things. I could go knight d4, but I'll just castle and see what happens. The problem with this early bishop c5 is knight takes e5 is quite strong, if I recall correctly. 10:30 a.m. in Ohio. Carl Nering. You from Cleveland, Carl Nering? Are you a LeBron fan? Do we have this discussion? c3. Not sure about a6. This is a similar position to the one where Grishuk used to play a6 and Carlsen used to go bishop takes c6 without waiting for a6. And Grishuk said, okay, one of us must be an idiot, but he wasn't sure who it was. Now we have a very similar thing to what we've seen in the last game. Normally these positions, if nothing bad happens to black directly in the opening, are quite playable. I went bishop b6 just so he doesn't go d4 with tempo. you could make a case for many useful moves. h6 is also quite typical with his bishop busy on the other diagonal, so you don't allow bishop to g5. It's quite a playable position. For white, it's not so easy to get his pieces out correctly. Here, since e4 is defended, he's actually in time to go bishop e3 and knight bd2, which is probably what he should do. d5 is nice for me strategically, because his bishop becomes strong. Knight bd2, d4 is hanging, a4 is a little late now, but Anish correctly goes for bishop e3, followed by knight bd2. Another big question in these structures is d5 a threat? d5, knight e7, bishop takes b6, cb. I believe it's normally not a problem, because black gets enough long-term attacking chances on the king side to compensate for his small weaknesses on the queen side. But it very much depends, and normally computers and theory books will tell you not to allow this with black. But I believe, yeah, it's not that bad, because I have a better bishop than the white bishop. And there is some potential attack. My pieces are not ideal, like the bishop has nothing to do on b7. The rook is better on f8 than on e8 here. Support f5s in the future. But it's easier to play with black. You know, you put your pieces on active looking squares and see what happens. That is my approach to chess in general too. Put your pieces on active looking squares, because there's a lot of squares that have a very active look. Like f4 just looks more active than f6. I'm not too happy about this exchange of knights, actually. I'm not sure if I could have avoided that. Still doing fine, but it's a bit more firepower with more minor pieces on the board. So I'll start going for cheapos. Like now I was threatening bishop h3, followed by rook g6. But Anish, to his credit, seems to see all my cheapos coming, which really is a great pity. Do I have more cheapos? Maybe with more thought I can make more cheapos happen. Maybe bishop h3. Still an option. Rook h3, queen g5. Next time. Now, can I do this? I'm mainly curious. Let's find out. He can take with a pawn and now block this check with... Well, this was my point here. I'm winning the queen, but I was going to say block the check with a minor piece. Well, now if I count it correctly, he only gets 2 minor pieces for the rook, which is not quite enough. Therefore, Anish resigns. So yeah, here what I was talking about is rook takes and now queen g5, and I was hoping that I was winning material because rook g3, which looks obvious to stop this mate. Once again, I have the same trick. Knight h3, followed by queen takes d2. So yeah, I guess he had to go something to g4, but it's not incredibly appealing. All right, let's play another game of ajedrez. Going through the list here. Oh, the cool guy, 2595. That is pretty cool. Your name sounds familiar. Maybe I accepted a challenge and the cool guy wasn't with us. I don't know. Anyway, he's from the Netherlands. Some people say the second best country in the world, and he plays the King's Indian. Some people say second worst opening in the world. I'll play my old pet line, this so-called Gligorich 7 bishop e3 line. I learned about this, showing my age again, I believe in the 1990 Karpov-Kasparov match, where Karpov posed quite some problems playing this constantly against Gary. And yeah, I don't have the greatest of results here, but I've been playing it on and off pretty much my entire chess career. It is interesting. It leads to slightly different positions. This line he chose with f6, g5. Now knight h6 is the main move. Leads to very crazy positions. c5 is one move, d5 is another. h3, and so on and so forth. Knight f7 I'm not familiar with, so it's probably bad, but it does have the pro that it does take me out of book. Gotta take the good with the bad. What do I do? h4 is the most aggressive way to handle these things. Then g4, knight h2, h5. Not sure if I achieved anything much. Nah, I'll just castle. g4 generally is not a threat because after knight h4, black weakened his position more than he weakened mine. And knight c6 is the typical approach to play this, when these endgames are supposed to be slightly better for white, or at least that's the hope. But I have to admit, it's not exactly winning. Supposed to be slightly better because the black king side is a little weakened, but black also has things going for him, like my bishop on g3. It's not the happiest of campers currently. Not really. Yeah, he doesn't have a very clear view. So I'll do the usual, make some moves, and hope for the best. Put my pieces on squares where they cannot be captured. All of that stuff. One day I'm gonna have to think about bringing this bishop back into business, but that's a long-term operation that requires moving this knight, then going f3, bishop f2, that allows the black knight to come to d4. So I hope I don't have to start with it immediately, but I can make some half-useful moves like rook c1, rook d1 first, and then see what happens. Maybe he's gonna invite my maneuver by going g4, which at least would give me some more active squares. Yeah, I've played this type of ending a bit now. I never really get anywhere, so I might either have to study it, which is of course the last resort, or change my mind about it and start playing something else. g4, yeah, I'm not sure if this knight belongs on h4 or on, let's say, e1 or on d2. So many options. I guess I should kind of use it in central activities. Bishop h6, I still have knight f6, so that doesn't seem to be on the agenda. And after knight d4, I wanted to go knight b3 just to get rid of this powerful knight. ASAP. ASAP Rocky. Another option for black is to start with knight d6. Well, once again, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll make a move. Bishop d3, I guess. I'm not really better, unfortunately. But as long as I'm not worse, I can always flag them. Actually, you can flag them when you are worse. Big point of flagging. Complicated. Knight e6, that looks odd. Doesn't that look odd? Looks a little odd to me, not gonna lie. I feel like I should do something for this dude. Bishop h4, knight f g5. Have I achieved anything there? Je ne sais pas. Could also try to be annoying and go knight a5, b6, knight b7, rook e8. I don't know. Still have a feeling I'm slightly better, but it's a tricky position to play. Very tricky. Shouldn't say still. I now have the feeling I'm slightly better. But I could be wrong. Bishop h6, can I take? Bishop c1, knight d7. I can't calculate is a problem. If you can't calculate, you should just make general moves and hope for the best. Playing badly. I should have gone for it. H4 looked useful just to stop anything coming to G5. But yeah, I've bungled this a little bit. Drifting. Yeah, that was a terrible sequence by yours truly. No longer better. Maybe I never was better, but it felt like I was better. To me, it felt like I was better. And like my mom always said, Jan, the important thing is that you like it. Well, no, I don't like it anymore. I'm probably not worse because his bishop is quite powerful, but I'm certainly not better. Next order of business is fight for g-file. One good thing about this bishop is that it covers the g8 square. Looks like the cool guy got the memo too. Could go h5, bishop h5, rook g7. Has that accomplished anything? Let's find out. Throw this in because rook a7 immediately f5 bothered me a bit. Still have this nagging feeling that I missed some opportunity and I almost blundered my rook with king c3, but at least I changed my mind about that. Yeah, it's not a lot there. Nah, maybe it's just a draw. To take, he can't take because of rook f7, but he can activate his own rook, which is annoying. What to do? He does take. Oh, tricky. Yep. Should have gone to f2. Now I'm putting my pieces in harm's way. At least I should not blunder anything major while I'm trying to create winning chances here. And I should also not lose on time. Not sure I'll be able to accomplish either of these things. Come on, I'm a pawn up. Not my proudest of victories, but I'll take it. Yeah, very interesting game against the cool guy. Probably the balance was never really disturbed. I had the feeling I was better in multiple junctures, but I could never really pull it off. So yeah, thanks for the game. Sorry about that. And not bad, sorry, you know me. Let's play against Ilar Schrecken. Ilar Schrecken. The cool guy says, not fair, Jan. First time you're watching this program? What's not fair? And we get this good old... What do they call this? I don't know what they call it. The center gambit that people play a lot on the internet, and I always say I don't think it's any good, and then they checkmate me, and I'm unhappy. But such is life. E4, bishop g2, bishop f5. I think this is a position I get a lot. And I keep saying this, I'm actually getting annoyed at myself because I say this in a lot of lines where I keep saying I should have a look at this, and then I never have a look at it. I believe that white is just better here, but sometimes believing is not quite enough, and you have to back it up. Bishop e3 I'm not sure about, but it feels to me like if he takes, then fe, even though it weakens my pawn, is more important to get my pieces going. Queen d4, knight d2. And bishop d6. I think I'm just better. Knight d2. Cool guy still arguing. I'm aware that rook endgame was a draw, but my take is if you're the side pressing in such an endgame, you're not forced to give a draw if you're also up on time. And it's not my fault you played rook b2. I wouldn't have flagged like if you get rid of the pawn or if the position is a total draw. But yeah, I don't think I did anything wrong there. And in general, I'm not a huge fan of like imposing one's code of fairness on the internet. What I think is, wrong is to play on rook versus rook. But I said I'm not a big fan of imposing your code of fairness. I'm not doing the same thing. Anyway, apologies to the cool guy if you feel like I robbed you. But flagging, in my view, has always been part of the Blitz experience, and I'm certainly not going to complain if anybody flags me. It's also very unfair. I have to talk all through these games, you know. If I could spend the time on not talking, it'd be so much faster. Probably not better though, because I get a bit addicted to playing bullet, and it makes me not only should I really overcome that addiction, but it also makes me even more superficial. It's probably good for my speed, but now I'm thinking, is this a good pre-move is mainly my main train of thought. I hope Peter Svidler is not watching this. I'm fairly certain he's not watching this, but he would be as heartbroken as the cool guy when somebody flags him like that. So, I'm sure you would have an ally there. As for this position, I am pretty much a pawn up for nothing with a good position, which is how I always feel about this gambit. But bad things have happened to me before in it. Knight c8. Knight here. Oh, I'm winning on time. Time flies when you're being defensive about flagging somebody. I should try to avoid getting checkmated before I flag him, because then be unfair again. Managed. Let's play somebody else. Nazo. Who's Nazo? Says Steph. Who are you, Mr. Nazo? I don't know. I don't know any of the people working here, really. Like, not on a first-name basis. Sometimes if I meet them in the kitchen, I'll nod hi, but I'm not gonna, like, inquire what they're called and stuff. Like, I'm busy flagging people. Oh, it's a 3-minute game. When are we done with 3-minute games? It's just too fast if you have to do all the talking too. We get the, what do you call it, the Marochi bind. I'm sure I've played previous Banter Blitzes. I've always been a fan of this knight c2 move ever since I read about it. I think in Peter Heine's chapter in some old book like Express versus the Sicilian. He gave this knight c2 idea and he gave some beautiful lyrics explaining that it's good for white if there's 4 minor pieces on the board. So I've played it ever since, normally with decent results, because I do believe in the white side, generally speaking, in these Marochi bind structures. If white manages to consolidate, go b3, f3, king h1, and stop black from playing b5, it's going to be very hard for black to find something constructive to do, while white can always improve his position and go knight d5 at an opportune moment. There are some theoretical questions, of course, to this stuff, like knight d7 is very serious mainline, bishop d2, then knight to c5, and I'm not sure white is really better there, but I like the philosophy behind this, if that makes sense. For now, the white task is just to stabilize his center, go b3, wherever f3, king h1, not allow any trickery. Knight e8 is sort of hinting that he wants to play f5, but normally I would welcome that. King h1 might not be a top priority. That tends to be nice to get out of this diagonal. For example, here, if we went b5, takes, then there wouldn't be no queen b6 check. One question that I always struggle with a bit here is, am I supposed to play a4 now? I'll do it, but I'm not sure if it's the correct decision. Another question I'm struggling with is, why is Mr. Nazo 1549? He seems like a pretty good chess player. But I'm not sure I'll get to the bottom of that. Maybe it's just not super active on this very chess page. Where do I put my knight? Probably back. You could argue that having provoked e6 is an achievement for me. Not sure if that's 100% accurate. And I'll show off my grandmasterliness by going a5. When queen a5 runs into b4, winning a piece, and else it stops b5, which he's been preparing for the last 50 moves, quite reliably. One thing that's annoying about my position is that this guy was constantly hanging. But what to do? Goes b6, can I take here? I'll take here first. It's actually not an easy position at all. Okay, I have to speed up. So we'll never find out the truth and nothing but the truth. This certainly was not the truth. Looks like I have to take with the queen because bishop takes knight c6. I can't see what to do. I'm a pawn down, but the black pieces are all over the place, so I still quite like my position, apart from the fact that I'll win on time. It does look like my position should be fine as well. But I should at some point do something aggressive. Maybe not too aggressive, maybe just this. Nazo lost the thread there a little bit, but clearly a much stronger player than his 1549. Kevin Likes Chess is asking, would anyone like to live in Yanistan? Yeah, I can't promise I would not send any no, I shouldn't make topical jokes. Yeah, I'm not sure if the government of Yanistan would be the most democratic. But I'm still obsessed with the idea. It would be nice to have my own republic, with me as friendly and wise dictator. Because we've seen that democracy has its problems as well. Because we're all idiots. We shouldn't be allowed to decide anything, really. So the wise dictator doesn't quite work historically, because people are too power hungry normally, like me. They gave me the studio. Think I'm letting anybody in? Think I'm nurturing young talent? No, I'm sitting here all by myself, trying to keep the thing going. This is Yanistan. It's like a 20 square meter Yanistan. Maybe it's 22. I don't know. There is a wall, so no one else can get in. But I don't have a lot of, like, people praising me when I leave my weekend resort. So that's a bit of an issue. And here, I don't know, as the ruler of Yanistan, if I would have time for such frivolous activities as playing Banter Blitz all day, probably I'd like get out of all Blitz business, leave it to my kids, and really just focus on, fighting, I don't know, nasty rumors about me. But I wouldn't have time to directly flag people. I would fight the perception that I flag people more than do the actual flagging, I think. So yeah, could be a good world, this Yanistan. Like I rewatched The Dictator the first couple minutes, and yeah, I would like to have these 100-meter races where I have a gun and no one else has one. And I think there is a lot of potential for that subject. But it's gonna be tough to find territory. Back in the days when I was a law student, I learned that one part of a state's definition, apart from all the nonsense like language and culture and so on, is also the territory. So I have to carve that out somewhere. Won't be so easy. Maybe I can start with some island. Then have, I don't know how it would work. Can I have like an attack minister? Ministry of Attack to go out and take over other islands. If I start with one small island in the Caribbean, can I just have like one boat and I send it out to capture another island, then I have two islands and then I can build a bigger boat. That kind of thing. Like, I'm sure there's strategy games based on that. But yeah, it would still be unclear. Like, I don't have a clue about foreign politics, so I wouldn't want to be involved with that. I'd be focusing on, I'd put Yanistan first. As for the game, we're playing this boring line, whatever it's called. It's the London system, but not the cool London system. If they committed to knight f3 early, then black has the option to go for this queen b6 and c4, which equalizes on the spot. So the cooler London system is the one where you don't go for knight f3 so early, but instead go knight d2 first when this queen b6 stuff doesn't work so well. No, I wouldn't want the country to be only for GMs. I'm not sure if you've been around a lot of GMs, but they're horrible people. They're extremely awkward. You can't really talk to them. They lack not only social skills, but also all practical skills, really. Like, you can't have them do anything. You want to build a raft with a bunch of GMs to take over the next island? Good luck with that. No, GMs are terrible people. And also, the whole point of being a GM is you're aware you're basically useless, but you can still feel superior to other people admiring your GMness. because you spent more time in your childhood playing chess. So why would I want to have more of these nerds around in Yanistan? That sounds like completely the wrong approach. I think I would actually ban GM titles and have, let's say, CM be the highest chess title that anybody could ever achieve, as long as they're a Yanistan inhabitant. Yeah, this concept is starting to grow on me. The question is, if I take over a different island that already has a Grandmaster, like, can I strip them of their title? Because I think their title is supposed to be for life. But who cares? It's my country, my rules. Once they're under Yanistan leadership, you're no longer a Grandmaster, unless you're young. Oh, you guys want to see the board? I see, I'm so focused on Yanistan. You didn't miss much. We're just, moving pieces around in this random system. But thanks for the caps, Amir MN7. Caps do help. Yanistan, you're not allowed to see the board. Let's have that as a new rule. Only private chess games. Like, I'm not your... What's the word? See, I don't even know the word. I'm not there to entertain you in Yanistan. It works the other way around. You have to study little performances for your wise leader. I don't know. Like, you might think I'm tongue-in-cheek, but this idea is really, really growing on me. I'm not sure how to get it done. As for this game, I'm, with apologies to La Rocca, who's playing well, but I'm too intrigued by the perspective of my own dictatorship to really give thought to this game still played in the free world. I'm gonna win somehow, because I'm a Grandmaster, and you're not, and I know no shame. Rook a2, see, I could go knight c1. Winning. Another thing is, would I be rich as the ruler of Yanistan? Like, I'd of course be corrupt about the state finances, but the money has to come from somewhere. Like, of course you can exploit the inhabitants, but still, like, we need some sort of export, or at least, I don't know, trade alcohol or cigarettes, or maybe one can grow. What drugs can you grow on fields? Can you grow heroin? Can grow heroin, right? That's probably not a good idea. I don't know. I feel bad for La Rocca. I didn't even manage to show the board for most of this game. And I still haven't solved, like, the problem of how to make money in Yanistan. Let's get this done with. It's only one check. Resign. People want to catch up on this game, which I did not show anybody. So it was this. I was talking about, it's not the good London system, because in the, well, quote-unquote good, in the modern London system, they go for this, where queen b6 is not as great. I'm not sure why, actually, so I should look that up. Why isn't it? Maybe queen c2 is stronger here. Not sure. I'm honestly not sure, but I am sure that in this line, which we got in the game, queen b6, this stuff is supposed to be fine. Queen b6, ab. After queen c2, I have this tactic with bishop f5. And maybe that's the point, with knight on d2 instead of on f3. There's no bishop f5 tactic. Well, here, queen f5, queen b2 works for black. So white has to go for this, and this position is fine for black. Blah, 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 and so on. What time is it? 5 past 5. That gives us time for more chess games. Apologies for my nasally drone. The good old cold. You know how it is. I'm sure you've had a cold. Butterfly 90 says 2038. Female in the picture. You never know online if they're really females. Normally odds are that on a chess site they're not. But my apologies, Butterfly 19, if you're a real lady. As I told you before, I'm a grandmaster. We're very, very awkward in the presence of females. Even if it's only a digital female. And especially if it's a digital female playing the Scotch Gambit. Because that's way too aggressive. And I think, was this last show where I went bishop c5, c3, knight f6? Chickening out. Anyway, this time I will go knight f6, pretend to be brave, even though I'm not. And after e5, there's a big choice between knight g4, knight e4, and the main line d5. I'll go for d5, see what happens. After knight takes d4, was this a move? Ah, no, it's a different position, right? Oh boy, I wish I could remember things. Bishop c5, knight c6. I have a feeling bishop c5 works here. But I'm trying to figure out why after knight c6. Yeah, this is what they do, and this is equal after takes, everything, rook b8. But, okay, I can figure out after the game. Takes there first. Okay, same thing, I guess. This, for some reason, is equal. Don't know why, though. See, even if I know things nowadays, I don't really know. I do know that this is equal. I don't know why. I know there is a game, I believe, Nakamura against Onishuk, where Nakamura won. But I did have a look, actually, and concluded it was nothing for white. Well, once again, why? I should not blunder any long castles related to tricks, as I've done in the past. Bishop f5 or bishop a6? Bishop e6. Probably bishop e6 is actually the correct way to play. Just looks so boring. But I think this is what I'm supposed to do. There we go. Long castles is coming. Rook fb8, bishop b3, do I lose material? Knight b3, king b2. Looks like I do lose material. Alright. That's where you get, kids, for not eating your muesli, doing your homework. You have to suffer in endgames upon down against Butterfly 1990, who's blitzing out moves. Well, you have to make it all up. It's a hard knock life. Kevin likes chess, says your main export would be patzers. But how would that work, Kevin? Like, what's the business model? What do I do with the patzers? Do I sell them as sort of gladiators to other islands? So other dictators can feel good about themselves by showing their chess skills against the patzers that I'm exporting? I'm not sure if that would work. But you might be onto something. I went fe because I wanted to attack this pawn. And I want to somehow win material here. But I'm not sure I'll be able to do it. Rook a4, knight b5. No, I'm not winning enough there yet. So I'll go for this. And hopefully Butterfly 90 is gonna blunder some rook a4 related trickery. What does the Butterfly 90 stand for? I'm familiar. Oh, instead of... Yeah, that was bad. Now I'm in trouble, actually. I just missed rook a3 while I was speculating if Butterfly had anything to do with the crazy town song. I blundered rook e3 and my position is going downhill. Now rook c3 is strong. No, I'm just getting crushed here. Odd. Generally, I'm not a big fan of getting crushed. And if you have to put your knight on a6, it's a pretty sure sign that something has gone very, very wrong. Yep, this does not look good. Yep. Well played again. Hopeless, huh? Trying to find some fighting chances, but not really after knight b5. I'm passive and a pawn down, so it is fairly hopeless. Knight c4 looks weaker to me. But I'm still passive and a pawn down. So still reasonably hopeless. Now at least there is this small, well, it's not a big hope, but the mini plan to go knight c5 and extinguish this rook from hanging out on my 7th rank, because I don't enjoy this rook being too deep in my business. There's too much knowledge of my affairs in there on d7. Still worse, obviously, but still feels like a new lease of life now that I didn't get crushed immediately. Some chances. I'm not sure. With this level of chess, even the Patzer production in Yanistan will not be a very successful venture. Do I get a pawn back, or is this a cunning trap, some knight a5 action? Oof, I don't want to calculate. I meant knight a5, knight takes e5, and I wasn't sure of the pawn endgames were losing, or what was going on. King b4, what do I do? Yeah. King d6 looks very clumsy. Knight f5, king c6, knight g7. I don't really want to go rook c6. I might have to. Is this a blunder? This feels like a blunder. Knight f5, king c6, knight e7, king b6. That's perpetual. That's too bad already. Don't want a perpetual, even though probably I should be dreaming of perpetuals in this position. Oof, yeah. Now I'm in real trouble. Oh, and I'm behind on the clock. Worst of all. Time to speed up. I did not count who's winning this race, but it looks like I'm doing reasonably well in it. Drama! Yeah, well played, Butterfly 90 dominated like 90% of the game. In the end, in the time scramble, I got lucky that wherever it was, somewhere here. All this stuff kind of works out for me, because knight a5 is check, and this pawn endgame is probably good for me. But yeah, not a great game on my part. I can't resist playing this username. Lasagna Play Z is too good to pass up. That might be another thing I might introduce in Yanistan. The only thing allowed for lunch is lasagna. Like for dinner, you can have your healthy choices. You can have your little salmon, or whatever. Can even have steak if we have steaks in Yanistan. I'm not sure about that yet. But for lunch, it's just lasagna. For breakfast, I don't know. Should there be choice for breakfast? Yeah, I think it should be mandatory oatmeal for everybody. It's healthy. Don't overdo this orange juice, which you all think is healthy, but we all know it's just sugar. No, we don't all know that. So yeah, oatmeal for breakfast in Yanistan, lasagna for lunch, which is also not healthy, but it's very tasty. Like Garfield enjoyed it for a reason. And for dinner, it's up to you. We're playing the Benoni. Knight g2 might look like a dumb move, but I actually think it's very clever. Because this knight goes to g3, and we're playing a sort of Samish King's Indian, where white has not committed to the move f3 yet. And I'm not gonna commit to it. Unless I'm being forced to, and black put a lot of pressure on the e4 pawn, which would then in turn mean that he has misplaced some pieces for other events. So I think this is a very good system for white. Kevin likes chess, gets it, and says lasagna is a Yanistan staple. Absolutely. We will have, I don't know, you can't grow lasagna on fields, else I would have lasagna fields for sure. What do we need? We need minced meat, and we need this bechamel. Need to install some bechamel. Is that what it's called? This weird white stuff? I think it's bechamel. Need to have some bechamel factories. Now we need these pasta slices. And we need professionals to like build the lasagna properly. So yeah, that could be one big industry. And it could also be a big export thingy. Like lasagna deliveries maybe to other islands with all the boats I took over on my attack missions. I could have like a pizza.caribbean, but only for lasagna. So it would be lasagna.caribbean, and anybody in the proximity can order a lasagna. We'd have some overnight express kind of thing if you're not nearby enough. If you like have a bunch of, what do you need? A micro fridge. We can also, they don't have to be delivered hot if it's too far. So I could see that industry taking off. Maybe they've never heard of lasagna in Yanistan, so I can make some profitable lasagna trades when I first show up. I can talk the locals into, you get this lasagna, I get all of your land, that kind of thing. Because lasagna is very tasty if you're not used to it. Like, I believe it could get me more than the asking price, really. Anyway, Lasagna Play Z, we're playing the thing. After bishop g5, I think he should have gone h6 and bishop e3. And you could argue h6 is a weakness, but it's still nice to break this grip. Well, now it's very hard for black to do anything overly constructive. He's not going to get b5. And white has many plans, including the very classical f4, e5 breakthrough. So I'm happy here. There's questions about official stamps. Yeah, I was wondering, maybe I'm not sure if I'll allow any foreign businesses like stamps.com. Probably not. That's a good point. And of course they would have to have my face on it. Like, not because I'm full of myself, but because else people wouldn't know that it's from Yanistan. So yeah, that is a good point. There's so many things to think about. Like, if you're new to government and you like haven't been a career politician and then you get power over Yanistan, all of a sudden, like so many things that have to be taken into account that probably aren't as fun as it sounds now to be a dictator of my little place. Still, I'm up for it. Business might also profit from me ruling Yanistan long term, because I can make contacts, with other leaders. I can use. No, we wouldn't have social media. I don't want my inhabitants complaining about human rights violations and that kind of stuff on social media. So I think I'd get my own social media things. Like there would be Twitter only for Yanistan inhabitants, that kind of thing. But yeah, a lot of planning to be done. So very important to hire the right people. First would be the attack minister, because I'd be quite focused on growing the empire and taking over other islands. Then this finance thing sounded worrying, and this. I don't think I like this checks and balances thingy all that much, but I need some nerds to take care of all this stuff like stamps and so on. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some serious studying. In the meantime, in this game against Lasagna Play Z, I won a pawn, but he actually got a little counterplay, which I don't enjoy, because I don't deal so well with adversity. If you're considering moving to Yanistan in the near future, you should know that. Like adversity, not my thing. I function much better with loyal, quiet co-inhabitants. No, that's not what it is, but you know what I'm talking about. Well, here f5, bishop c4, left, right, left. Stop it. Alright, I'll win on time somehow again. When all else fails. It's always Flagville, Tennessee. Not a part of Yanistan, to be honest. This does not make a whole lot of sense. Just so you know, while you're thinking, oh, this is a great, very deep grandmasterly pawn sacrifice. Nah, not really. It's going for cheapos in order to win on time. I did see this rook was hanging. Just defending myself here. Do I have time for this? H5. Queen b3 is a bit painful, actually. King e8 was not the best square. Very good game by Lasagna Play Z. What does his name stand for? Like, you like lasagna, that part I understand. Play I also get, but is the Z like because you're gangster and that's how you spell place? Lasagna Place? Or is it Lasagna Play bores you and makes you fall asleep, so it's Lasagna Play Z? I don't know. Could be both, actually. Thanks for the game and sorry for the swindling and poor play. One last game. How about Mr. Robert Kender? Did I click on Robert Kender? Yep. Here we go. One e4, which, if I play e4, it's a thinly veiled insult, because normally I don't dare to, because I'm so scared of Sicilians. When a Sicilian happens, I normally play bishop c4 or bishop b5 or some fake stuff. But this game against Robert Kender, I could still chicken out and play f3. But nah, let's play the real thing. Rook g1 looks ridiculous, and it kind of is, but it had a brief burst of support at some point. The early 2000s, late 90s maybe, Rook g1 was all the rage. And it does prepare g4, just like the trendy move. They all play now. h3, so how bad can it really be? You like to go knight f5, but it runs into d5. I think it never works. Even here, it doesn't. After a3, e5, knight f5, we've seen things are a little different. And Robert Kender showing good understanding of the Najdorf. Goes h5 here to stop me from going g4, which I believe is a good move. And it makes rook g1 look a little silly. I'm kind of committed to queenside castles now, but it's not ideal. Oh, I'm reading in the chat that Sopiko lost her game. Sopiko Guramishvili, our friend Miss Tactics, won her first game in the Women's World Championship. Currently ongoing in Iran, but I hear she lost the second one. So she's back to the tie breaks. Pity for Sopiko, but still every chance to make it to the third round. So this position, yeah, my Najdorf expertise is as big as my expertise in leading a country. But I would guess that black is doing fine here. If it just goes knight bd7, not quite sure what I'm supposed to do. Do I want to play f4? I don't know. I don't like any of this. I'll get my king out of the way first and then think. Which is probably why I'm not a good Najdorf player, because I always want to... Sorry. I always want to tuck my king away safely before starting the action. And in these sharp Sicilians, there's often no time for that. But it's inch for inch. Inch for inch? Huh. Still don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'll go here. f3 would have been more in character, but I have a feeling it's a little slow. Allowing knight g4 is not ideal either. But after, let's say, knight g4, queen g3, I thought if he takes on g5, fg, then at least his knight could be awkward on g4. Bishop g4, can I... Can I kick it? Oh, I should talk about that. Did you guys see the Tribe Called Quest Grammys performance? Fantastic stuff. And I'm not even talking just about the political message, but just the show itself was oof. Q-Tip, old man, but still very, very spectacular live performer. So I found it very inspiring, since I'm getting old to see these heroes of my childhood, like Q-Tip. He must be in his 40s to still get it done. The new album is very good as well. I was very impressed. I found it very inspiring. And yeah, I know I'm a little sleepy. I'm still under the weather, as they say. I've been under the weather for a long time. It's really, really, really annoying. But today, the sun came out and it was plus degrees in Hamburg. Nah, I think it's been plus degrees every day. But I have a feeling like the worst winter cold season could be over. And we might be in for warmer, coldless times. As for the game, I think I'm better because this bishop is more passive than my bishop, especially now. If my bishop makes it to d5, it's more or less winning strategically. Because, yeah, I dominate the light squares and there will be blood. Winning might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it's gonna be unpleasant for black. Bishop d8, I can maybe go queen c5. Goes queen d8, which leaves me no choice but to slam the door shut. what's happening in the chat? No, I did not see the man in the high castle, I believe it's called. Don't really want to see it. Bishop e6. Now, did you have a chance to watch the series Occupied at all? No, that doesn't even ring a bell, which means not only didn't I have a chance to watch it, I've never heard of it. And normally I hear of interesting series, at least, because I listen to podcasts whenever I'm on my way to work or wherever. I listen to The Watch and other stuff. So I tend to be informed, even if I don't watch it, about what's out there. But I haven't heard of Occupied. I'll look it up. B4, I can take none. We have to give credit to Robert. He managed to activate his own bishop. I'm still seriously better. But I might be falling for this thing, which I know one shouldn't do. But it's so hard if they give you pawns to resist instead of building my initiative to grab pawns, which especially with opposite colored bishops tends to be a recipe for disaster. So I'll fight the urge, try to play actively. Go c3. Hopefully I'm not blundering. Some takes, king e7, cd, rook b8, bishop b5. Seems to be alright. While if the bishop goes somewhere, I was hoping I would have some tricks like bishop f7 maybe. Does this work? Yeah, seems to kind of work. Yes, go king f8 because queen f7, rook d8 wins for me. And king e7, I can give this check, which looked unpleasant too. King f8 is forced, and then I have to. I don't want to calculate. I'll just take. That allows queen b6. Probably I can't stop that. It's winning after queen b6. I'll just take, but it would have been nice to decide the game with queen still on board. Well, this is one of my favorite devices. The discovered counter check. They check you, you check them back. Checks and balances. And then you pre-move rook d8 checkmate. And Robert Kender lost on time. That's it for today. Apologies for the cold, the sleepiness, the not putting the game up, the flagging, the fantasies of being a dictator. It's not really fantasies, I'll work on that. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time around. Bye.